As we start Avatar: The Last Airbender, our sympathies are entirely with Team Avatar. Why should we sympathize with Zuko, we wonder? At the start of the show, Zuko appears to be nothing more than your typical angst-ridden antagonist. He appears to be nothing more than an angry teenager who wants to capture the Avatar. We do not know why he wants to do this. We do not realize that there is more, far more, to his character than that. And we learn this as the show progresses. It's not that we stop being sympathetic toward Team Avatar, only that we learn that the show's most compelling character is not any of them, but the sullen teenager that we had dismissed earlier as nothing more than a spoiled brat. The scar on his face is from his father, who exiled him, sending him after the Avatar and expecting that he would never return. By luck, Zuko does chance upon Aang, and he takes advantage of this by chasing the Avatar all over the world, believing that if he doesn't, he will never be whole again. He will just be a disgrace. So he pursues Aang, desperate to prove himself to his father. Filled with self-loathing, he tries desperately to become the son his father wanted. He adopts the belief system of the Fire Nation, and by those standards, he is a failure. However, as the show progresses, we see him question this belief system. We see him grow beyond it. We're treated to one of the most moving and profound character journeys in American animation. Team Avatar, however, does not see this. To them, he is nothing but the arrogant teenager who chased them all around the world and always talked about honor and did whatever his father wanted him to do. So, where does this leave us when he decides to leave his father's side, leave the life he had always yearned for, and instead join Team Avatar? Without thinking, we assume that they will accept him, because we, the audience, have long ago accepted him. We like them, and we like Zuko, so we believe they will like Zuko. But we're not considering their perspective. We're not considering their side of the story and their subjectivity. They don't know what we know, so they reject Zuko. They're mean-spirited, and it's jarring. Even though we completely understand their position and would likely act similarly were we in that position, we, the viewers, are nonetheless placed in the awkward stance of siding against the show's protagonists. In this episode, they're the antagonists. Remember, antagonist does not just mean bad guy. In fact, sometimes antagonists can be good guys. It just means anyone whose actions are set in opposition to the actions of the protagonist, and in this episode, Zuko is our protagonist. He is the character whose journey we follow. He's the character we are primarily invested in. After all the suffering that has led to his eventual transformation, he is trying to be accepted, but he is rebuffed. His interests are opposed to the current interests of Team Avatar. This episode, easily one of the show's best, and definitely its densest and most dialogue-heavy, is mainly just him trying to convince the other members of Team Avatar to accept him, even though this is the last thing they want to do. It's a strange feeling siding with Zuko against Team Avatar, especially considering where we started, with Team Avatar being emblematic of the light and hope that fight against the Fire Nation's darkness. And Zuko appearing at first to be nothing but a manifestation of pure malice. Still, with luck and determination, he manages to convince them, And it is this scene, the scene where Team Avatar accepts Zuko, that I would like to examine in more detail. They're not happy to accept him, even after what he said to them the first time about him having changed. And even after he explains himself far more clearly and compassionately and less awkwardly the second time. And even after he helps save their lives from the assassin Combustion Man. Zuko explains that enduring the difficulties of his journey was a necessary step in order for him to realize his values were askew, and that he was going against all that is moral and just and better for the people of this world. He says that he now knows that honor cannot be bestowed upon one. Rather, one claims honor for themselves by choosing to act in accordance with honorable principles. This has weight for Zuko and for us, because we've seen his transformation, but it is worth noting that this is not what convinces Team Avatar to accept him. It might have resulted in them becoming less averse to Zuko joining the group than they were before, but they're still hesitant. They still have a lot of suspicions about him. From their perspective, Zuko might be being entirely platitudinous. He might not sincerely mean any of this. They do not know for sure. It's when he makes a comment about having learned the importance of controlling fire that Aang decides to give him another chance. The last time Aang tried to use firebending, he burnt the person he cares most about in the world, Katara, because he did not exercise control. But Zuko knows the value of control now, the value of tempering and directing one's fire toward that which is right and moral. Aang, recognizing this, decides to accept Zuko into Team Avatar, and Zuko is at first ecstatic, but his hopes are partly dashed when Aang takes a step back and says that it's not just what he thinks that matters. He wants to check with the other members of his group. Toph is excited to have Zuko in the group. She's been the one pushing for him to join the group from the beginning. Sokka is a bit more hesitant, but he eventually defers to Aang's decision. He does not hold a grudge. The prospect of Zuko joining the group does not comfort him, as he demonstrates by his awkwardness when he's talking with Zuko for the first time after Zuko joins the group, but his temperament is rather low-key. Hardly anything bothers him, and even if it does, he tends to keep his objections to himself. Did he support Zuko joining the group? Not really. When Aang consents to let Zuko into the group, Sokka's mouth drops agape. But Sokka recovers. It's Katara who doesn't. Only reluctantly, very reluctantly, does she accept Zuko into the group. She does not trust him, and she does not believe in his transformation. Still, she cares about Aang, and if Aang wants Zuko in the group, she is not going to stand in his way. Smiling, Zuko thanks Team Avatar, but they do not respond to him, instead turning their backs to him and walking away. The show cuts to a wide shot, emphasizing the distance between him and them. The implication is clear. They're accepting him because it's convenient, because they need a firebender, not because they want to give him another chance. He can only become part of the group, really become part of it, instead of just being an outsider, if he demonstrates to each member of the team individually that he has changed from the person they once knew. This is what gives the so-called Zuko field trip arc dramatic stakes. He must prove to those who have every reason to distrust him that he understands their struggles, cares about them as individuals, and will help them become better. If he succeeds, he can revel in his newfound redemption. He can revel in the fact that he has found a new family. A family much more tender and comforting than his birth family. A family that promotes empathy and understanding rather than destruction and hatred toward the other. A family defined by carefree attitudes instead of rigid discipline and propagandistic nationalism. However, at this point, it is not guaranteed that he will succeed. His position is tenuous. The episode appears to end on a bright note, with Zuko reflecting back on a chapter in his past when he first came to the Western Air Temple, so full of determination to capture the Avatar and bring him back to the Fire Nation in chains, only for Uncle to say that destiny is a funny thing and you never know how it's going to work out. It's a heartwarming moment that is nonetheless counteracted by Katara storming into the room and laying down an ultimatum for Zuko. She basically threatens to kill him if he demonstrates that he has not really redeemed himself. The future for the relationship of these two is a cathartic mission to the man who killed Katara's mother. A mission that ends with Katara finally overcoming her dark side. And finally being free of the pain that has caused her so much suffering since she was a child. But that is far in the future. It's a lovely scene, but to get there, we have to pass through this stage of animosity. The episode ends not on triumph, but on tension. Zuko has succeeded in joining Team Avatar, but he has not succeeded in getting the members of Team Avatar to really and truly accept him. That will have to come later. His real work has only started. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe and donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is a brilliant, empathetic, intellectually stimulating show that I adore because it never lets its characters off easy, never lets them off the hook. It forces them to face consequences. It's not nihilistic about it, but it treats its characters with maturity and nuance. It doesn't shove them into shallow cliches. It just allows the relationships between characters to play out the way they should play out, the way they naturally would play out, considering who these people are. It doesn't fit them into predefined boxes. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.